My name is Raymond Karszewski. I'm living Christ. Today I should like to talk to you about Christ consciousness because most of you are quite unaware of what that means. To you, it's a trigger word. It affects your belief-ridden conscious mind, your intellect. Now, the Christ consciousness can only be found in the balance of one who anchors his consciousness in the subconscious, the non-dualistic, the creative mind, the mind of God, the mind of creation. It has no beginning, it has no end, it's timeless, and it cannot end up in confusion because it is non-dualistic in essence. It is the one, the oneness of what is, which has no countermanding ideas or forces. Such confusion can only be found in the satanically ruled conscious mind, the intellect. This you are all too familiar with. We have forsaken the use of our, most of us anyway, the use of our subconscious mind, our non-dualistic mind, the mind of truth, in lieu of finding our life in the conscious, dualistic intellect that we worship as God. It is the source of consciousness that is a reflection of that which is. A symbol, an idea, a concept. You know, these are all illusions. These are what civilized man has created as a result of his satanically ruled conscious intellect. How is it done? By training, by conditioning, by indoctrination, by creating the illusion, the image of truth as an idea. And then we worship that idea as truth. When you say it is not truth, it never has been truth and it never shall be truth, because truth is what is. And truth can only be found in the eternal moment of now, which transcends time, you see. It is the conscious intellect that is time-bound. It's a linear, dualistic form of ideation. It makes for the gods. You see, gods is a word, but that word is infused with contradictory energy. And that energy, of course, is what causes the confusion, the violence, the rebellion, the resources of one's energy to be used in conflict and contradiction. That's called sin. Sin is nothing more than a contradiction in essence and can only be found in the conscious intellect. Civilized man, you, you all live in sin, in contradiction. You're all confused. You have to think things through linearly in order to come to the illusion of a conclusion. That conclusion is an illusion, and it creates your illusory world that you call civilized. You see, truth exists well beyond such limited illusions. So your government is an illusion. Your religions are illusions. Your philosophies, all of these things are intellectually based, you see. And as such, they are fragmented and in opposition to others who hold different viewpoints. That creates the civilized world we know, and we live, but we live in such confusion and don't understand how we can extricate ourselves from such confusion, you see. Everywhere you look, you see argument, you see debates, you see power. One idea versus another idea. One religion versus another religion. One philosophy versus another philosophy. One government versus another government. These are all satanic. Can't you see that? Can't you see the dualistic aspect of the conscious intellect? That you have to be trained. You see, when you were a young child, you didn't have the power of intellectual reasoning. You had to go to school. They had to train you into being a fragmented human being because all you had as a child, a preschool child, was truth and nature and what is as your teacher. And you learned, but you soon began to become in conflict with what you see all about you and the rules that were drummed into you by your parents, who they themselves were conditioned by their parents. And so they were passing on their sins to you. The sins of the fathers were indeed passed on to their sons, all by training. But it was normal. You thought it to be normal. And you were taught to respect, to obey, to function according to the rules. And the schools took over where your parents left off. And they had you for 16 years at least, from kindergarten to the 8th grade, high school, 4 years, another 4 years of college or university, and then for those who were polishing their intellects, postgraduate work. What they were doing, that they were creating themselves to be robots, obedient robots who lived according to the plans that were inducted into them, which they reacted to according to the positive imagery. And they were rewarded. They became civilized. They became the leaders of our world, this hellish world that we find ourselves killing each other in endless wars and bankrupting us and making us pay to live, you see. The human man or woman is the only animal based in the animal kingdom who has to pay in order to live on earth. You see, that's hell. You don't call it that because it's normal to you, and you don't question authority. And all these things demand that you question it. But you cave in. You live in fear. You live in fear of what other people think of you. You see, you are beyond such limited opinions. You are infinite in your energy. For you, when you are in your subconscious mind and resonating fully with that holistic energy, the holy energy, you are gods, actual gods. You are the God of your own life, you see. You create that life. You make yourselves the product, the epitome, the ego possessive of that life's accomplishments. That's the introduction of satanic conflict into your lives, the ego. You see, the ego is nothing more than a collective thought based in memory of that energy which you have created into actions. And they have served you. They serve you well. And so you repeat that and repeat it and repeat it until it becomes habitual. That habitual behavior is your ego, and it is satanic in nature. Why? Because it separates you from another ego, another who holds different ideas of behavior, which may be culturally inflicted upon him by his nationality, his country, or religiously based on their philosophies of life. Understand? All these are separative, dualistic, satanic mind control measures that make you a Satanist. All civilized people are Satanists. So there comes into the being of the dualistic conscious mind the aspect of good and bad, right and wrong. You see, good and evil. You see, these are all judgments based in the ego. The truth is, the actions are what is, and then you judge those actions to be good or evil, and that makes up your viewpoint of life, of your worldview. But you don't understand. It's not the same thing as awareness. Awareness is the cognizance of what is, plain and simple. It doesn't add judgment. If you kill another, you kill. You stop that life. Civilized man are trained to kill animals, other life forms, just like them. But they are prohibited from killing other life forms just like them, other human beings. Yet, there are exceptions when those exceptions serve the satanic power structure. I'm speaking now of war. You see, the killing of another human being during war makes one clothe himself with heroism, idealistic, positive imagery, but you're killing, nevertheless. And a hero may come home from the war zone, clear across the world where he's killing human beings who are of different countries, of different beliefs, and he doesn't know why he's killing. He's just ordered to kill, and he follows orders. Understand? And those orders, only when retrospect, when they come home, they realize what they have done, the damage they have done to their psyches, causes them to be unbalanced human beings, sometimes for life. And many, many end their lives voluntarily through suicide. That's what we do when we condition human beings to be patriots, killers, heroes. What nonsense, you see. You've taken a human being from his wholeness, from his love, from his compassion. You've trained him to be hard-hearted, to be unyielding, to kill. And you don't even know why you're killing. But you see, it comes out, you find out the way you're killing. Because somebody told you to. And who is that somebody? Very clear, it's the Satanist who controls you. The Satanist of power, the politician, the priest, the banker, the corporate CEOs who function only for profit. And you try to figure out the mechanism of how that comes about. How some men can control other men from cradle to grave. The other men are slaves. They don't have the ability to see holistically. And so they allow others to do their thinking for them. This is the president of the CEO of a corporation. The United States corporation, the de facto government, is such a corporation. It's not a country, but you believe it's a country, and you will give your life for it because you're trained to do that. You're stupid. You're ignorant. And the only difference between the two, because they both lack understanding, is that when you are quite aware that what you're doing is wrong, yet you do it, that makes you stupid. That's the difference. That tells you that you're in hell, and no matter what you do, you cannot extricate yourself from that hell. And you spend all of your life force attempting to relieve yourself of the guilt that comes with such a life. Now, I am a living Christ. That offends a lot of you because you're stupid believers. You don't understand who you truly are. You have given in to the power of one who threatens you, who entices you, and then makes rules which you do not dare break. We call those rules laws, man's law. All that kind of law based in the intellect of man is Satanistic. All you need do is follow God's law, the law of the subconscious mind, the law that is do no harm, tell no lies. Now, what do these two things have in common? They're both non-dualistic. If you are in the non-dualistic subconscious mind, you cannot harm another because there's only what is, truth, and you are a servant of that truth. You must leave your subconscious mind to be active in your conscious dualistic intellect, to know what harm, to know what killing, to know what enslaving means. Do you understand? When you take advantage, when one man has overwhelming abundance at the expense of the other who has none, poverty-stricken. That's our world, the world of the human being, the world of the civilized human being. It is hell. You can't argue that, you see, but yet you will. You spend your lives debating, arguing, trying to convince one another who's right and who's wrong. And all you're doing is you're harming. You're causing harm. And if you were not to harm another, you wouldn't debate. You wouldn't argue. You wouldn't support one nation against another nation. You would not kill the Palestinians, because the Jewish faction of power says to kill, that they are the enemy, and they draw in the United States to support that unholy war. The Jewish people are not God's chosen people. That's a lie. A damned satanic lie. All men are God's children, sons and daughters of God, when they are in their non-dualistic subconscious mind. They are one with God. They are the God of their actions, of their behavior, and therefore are responsible for what they do. But you see, when you give up that responsibility to follow, to obey, you create your own enslavement. And you've got no one to blame but yourself. That's the hell of it. All political organizations, including these United States of America, are satanic in nature. For they split people. They divide people. They create problems. And they kill people. Nothing godly about that, is there? What is it going to dawn on you? That you, the living man, the living woman, are the creators of the idea of government, which is merely a fictional idea that you have in your head. For government could not exist but for the idea that you have of it in your own satanically ruled conscious mind. There you have it. You are the devil. You are Satan. If you divide yourself from your fellow man. That's what love is, when you eliminate the divisions and you understand that you are one. You're killing yourself in the name of the other. When that comes to a halt, you will have heaven on earth. It's called love. True love. When there is true love, there is no opposition. There is no dualistic symbol, because you're beyond the realm of symbolism. You know what love means, not the idea of love, not the concepts. You are love. That's the Christ consciousness that I speak of. Now, when such energy of non-dualistic truth is spoken to a limited conscious intellect, such as yours, your limitedness can't handle it. Can't handle the energy of that which is, that has no countermanding to it, has no opposition to it. You judge that energy. And in that moment of judgment, dualistic judgment, you have sinned. You have created the illusion of opposition, and you are quick to attack the Christ who brings you the simple truth. That's what you have experienced in my writings for the past 23 years. You're unable, your conscious intellect is unable to handle the energy of love. That's why they have no control over this living Christ. I'm talking now of the politicians, the courts, the fictitious satanic courts that rule your lives. They have no control over a living man such as this Christ. Oh, they've tried, and they have failed. They tried to put me in prison for 40 years, but they couldn't find me. They could only find the person that they created by their birth certification. But I am not that person. I am the living man. I am the living Christ. Now, I brought that to you. For 23 years, I have brought that message to you, that what I have done, so can you. But you cannot do it in your conscious intellect through group think, because that is satanic in nature. It's dualistic, and it plays the game. You play by the rules of Satan, and most of you lose. You lose by being sent to prison. You lose by going to war. You lose by losing your life, losing your home, losing your job, because you play by Satan's rules. Well, this living Christ tells you that you, like this living Christ, are above the force of Satan. And Satan is incompetent to deal with a simple man of truth. So what I have done, so can you. And when you realize that, and you do that, you will understand that the only power that you have truly is don't resist evil, which most of you do. You protest, you go to war, you fight. Boycott. Now, what is boycott? Boycott is simply removing your own energy, that which supports all of the evil of the conscious world. Remove your energy. Remove your money, which is merely a symbol of energy. Understand? But that symbol has the ability to break you, to relegate you to enslavement, to take away all of your properties, which is symbolism of your life energy. They break you, and you are a broken man or a woman because you have sold your soul for a contract with the devil. You see, Satan can only operate by invitation. And when he draws you in, and you use man's law of contract to sell your soul, they own you. They own your life. They own your children. They own everything that you have. And then they drain you dry. And when that happens, you become a useless eater. So they pollute the skies, they pollute the water, they poison you. They do everything to quicken your death. Look at what they're doing now. The political decisions that no one contradicts. No one stands up and says, wait a minute, you can't do that. Who gave you the authority to do that? I have thought you up. I didn't give you the authority. I did not give you my consent. So, what power do you have? Well, I answered that question in the courts of Oregon when I refused to accept the conviction of 2 trials of the person who represents me in all capital letters. I said, you haven't proven jurisdiction over this living man. You're playing games with your own intellectual concoction. I'm not that man. I never was. I never shall be. 40 years. How many people do you know who are spending 40, 50 in life terms when they are innocent? And they are victims of words. Satanic word twisters. For that's all lawyers are. All lawyers are satanic. There are no good lawyers or bad lawyers. They're word twisters. Same with judges. But they put on images that you respect. But you're still a slave, and you still look up to them, while they dominate you in the hell that they have created for you. That's just dumb. I'm going to leave you with that, because I think I've given you plenty of truth for you to look at. Whether you can untangle the web that exists in your conscious intellect is another question as to whether or not you will see the truth, the simple truth of what I have said. I have offered my life as testimony to my truth. I challenge anyone to find a single solitary lie, a contradiction in essence of everything that I have said in the past 23 years on the internet. It can't be done. It hasn't been done. This offer, this challenge has been made for years now, and no one has been able to do it. Oh, there are many that are concocted by people claiming to be me, who are not me. So you've got to have the discernment to understand that, first of all, that there are many satanic imitators of this living man, Raymond Karchevsky. But there's only me at this point. There's only one. There was only one Jesus of Nazareth. And he was a Christ, as I am a Christ in my time. What's keeping you from living the life of a Christ? Simply stop the chattering of your intellect and meditate. Become quiet. And the walls of the intellect fall away. And you are in your subconscious mind. The mind of God.